Welcome to Awakened Wellness. As you can see, we have a new logo and a new show name. We just would like to invite you into our journey into self-discovery. And with that, I am Jocelyn.
I'm Marie.
And today we are going to, Marie's going to talk about how did this all come about? New year, new name. What brought this on, Marie?
Well, I recently went on a trip. It was in Costa Rica. Ooh. It was a week-long yoga retreat, and it was for Tantric Yoga, which is something that I learned and I've been practicing on a regular basis, but I didn't quite understand the energy piece of it and where it was all going. And then being there for a full week and practicing it day after day and understanding the depth of what the yogis knew and how they used the energy. And they used it to self-heal, but also to become more aware of what's happening in their surroundings and how the universe works and everything else. So I realized that I have a lot of that knowledge already, but it just gave me a deeper foundation on how to build more of it, how to anchor it, and how to use it to understand things better to help people help themselves along with myself. So
that's huge.
Yeah, it was really quite a life-changing week for me. I don't know that a lot of people can say that because I think I was ready to go there and for me, it's always been a struggle to try to describe my work to people because it's so specific to the individual. There's that energy piece, there's that exercise piece, there's that, coaching piece, but there's also that self-healing piece that people can do their own body work. They can, do all these things. So it doesn't make sense in people's minds. And when I got back, I had the epiphany of awakened wellness because we literally look at health and wellness from one perspective, and this is just taking it to a whole nother level. It's keeping the foundation, but it's doing what the yogis did, looking at it from a global perspective or a universal perspective versus just what we know to be true in mainstream.
Whoa, that's huge. That is really big and very exciting. Congratulations.
It's very exciting for me because I feel like I've played with the name for almost 3 weeks now. And the minute I say it instead of body within, because body within is the part of you that you connect to, everybody seems to connect with waking up how they see wellness because what they're doing right now is not working.
Mm-hmm. When you said the words, I read in the email and we went back and forth a little text, but when I walked in the studio today and you said awakened wellness, immediately I felt a shift. And I knew body within and I knew all of that, but there was this immediate shift to, I know exactly what she's talking about. Yeah. I actually connected to it.
Right.
Instead of trying to catch up.
Right. So today we're going to talk about what awakening wellness means from a healing perspective for each one of us to kind of pick it apart.
But first, I think we have some recaps.
We do have recaps.
Nice.
We do have recaps. Okay, so my first recap, someone said to me they had seen the episode when I talked about a microwave. And I said, don't tell yourself that the microwave is destroying your food when you eat it, but yet you put the food in the microwave anyway. And she said, I thought long and hard about that. And she said, I do it all the time, that I know I shouldn't be putting it in there. And then I tell myself what's happening to my food when I put it in there. And she goes, and I do it in all other aspects of my life too, with junk food or whatever. And she goes, why am I telling my body that? Yeah, so she started just becoming more aware of what's going on and how she's doing things and the messages she's given her body. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I think that was 2 baby steps forward.
Yep. And then the second one, it's one of my regular phone clients, and I think he answered the phone something like it's Pilot Tim. My health is on autopilot, and that's all that I do.
All right.
And I was like, wow, your health is on autopilot. Explain that to me. And he started explaining. He goes, I go through the motions. I don't think about it. I just do it. I exercise. I do this, but I don't know how much I'm exercising. I don't know if I'm exercising enough of what my body needs. I don't know if my heart rate's, he's going on. And I'm like, wow. So that's an interesting concept. So I think we might do a show on health on autopilot, right? Because we're
Just
all on
going through the
autopilot
motions.
with the diets too. We're on autopilot
Yeah.
with the sleep. We're on autopilot. We just kind of go through the motions, but we don't know the depth of why we're doing
Right.
what we're doing.
A problem presents itself, and we go into autopilot on how to deal with it and fix it. But is that the right way? Is that the right answer?
Yeah,
I
there's
like
so
it. I
much
think that'd be
more.
a good show.
Yep. Then I had another guy say he was in Boston and he was with his wife and he wanted to take a different way home and she didn't want him to, and they argued and argued. And he said, I think I know it. And she goes, just go the normal way. And there was a truck accident.
Yeah.
And apparently I got my name said quite a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like Marie said. I think Marie said.
No, he's like, I knew it. I knew it. And I'm like, but like we talked about in the last couple of shows, you don't know you're right until
you know you're wrong.
Yeah.
Until that truck's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Strange, funny. I've been noticing that my awareness of my surroundings, of a thought, I don't know what you want to call it, a thought pops into my head, or a warning or a signal, whatever you want to call it, has been happening quite a bit for the past couple of weeks. And I've been paying attention to them.
Okay.
So instead of just like, I kind of went, ooh, why did that pop into my head? And then I went, oh, it's a message. Oh, just open your eyes, listen, something. And in every single circumstance where that happened, I made the correct decision to not go that way, slow down, stop at a store, do something else in between, whatever it was. It was a whole different variety of things. And I came to the conclusion that, wow, those are happening for a reason. I'm glad I'm listening. And they weren't earth-shattering, but when you add them all up, I'm hearing what is being said to me.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you, because you're starting to awaken yourself and listen to your body within. So good for you. All right. Awakened wellness. All right. So the one part of it that happened when I was there, which was kind of, when you're dealing with energy medicine, a lot of people in society now, do you know what ayahuasca is?
No, I don't.
Okay, there's a lot of people doing ayahuasca trips. Okay. So you go like to Peru or whatever and you find a shaman and there's this drink that you drink and it brings you into this really deep comatose state where you see things and experience the energy at a different level and you're supposedly in other dimensions and things like that. You get really high.
Okay.
So Kundalini Yoga can do that for you as well. Along with Wim Hof breathing. There's a lot of energy techniques out there that bring you to a higher level of spirituality, supposedly. The problem with that is it's a mind, body, spirit approach when you're healing. So if you're only doing that part, you're way out of balance, and then you're getting bad energies in your space and all kinds of bad things are happening.
Okay.
So what was interesting to me is I struggle with my clients doing some of the similar things that they keep opening up the energy, but they're not doing the self-work. So they start hitting more chaos is what happens. Well, he's decided to stop doing Kundalini Yoga for that reason. This is a global teacher.
Oh.
Because people are so focused on the high, just like the high in exercise, just like the high, that we're totally out of control in society from our healing perspectives. Yeah, which blew me away, which made me feel a little bit more peaceful inside because of what I was experiencing. But it's also, and he said what's happening is people are trying to raise their vibration all the time without learning. So they're not being kind anymore. They're being judgmental. They're, being hateful to other people. They're not understanding when they're infringing on someone else's space because they're only doing one part of the healing. And it's a mind, body, spirit practice. No matter, even if you go to the doctors, you should be looking at all aspects.
Wow. There's a million things running through my head from that statement, and I don't know where to start with it, so I won't. But it does, the image that came to my head, and again, image is really ramping up, is I could just see people chasing that balloon, chasing
Everybody
that
does.
one thing.
Everybody
instead
does.
of standing back and saying, which way is the wind blowing? Am I going downhill? Am I going uphill? What is everything around that decision making? So, wow. And so he's not doing that anymore so I'm feeling that, I don't want to say it's an easy path, but it was an easy way for them to say, ooh, I did this, and this is what I saw.
So therefore, I'm spiritual, and I'm more open, and I'm more awakened.
Yeah.
And the planet is not, they believe that there's this big awakening going on, which there is because more people are seeing that some things are not right. But when you're judging and not just sitting in it and trying to figure it out, you're not awakened. Mm-hmm. You think you're higher than someone else, and you believe you're more right than they are.
Mm-hmm. Which is the problem to begin with.
But who knows who's completely right? You got to take each situation and break it down. There isn't this global right.
Right. There's not a global answer either.
Because everybody thinks differently. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get down to physical, emotional, spiritual. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the physical piece.
I'm going to take notes.
Okay.
All right.
When you practice awakened wellness, instead of just looking at your body the way you do now, you have to ask yourself, how do I see myself? How do you see your body? How do you see your choices bringing you to how you're going to age? How much control do you have over what's happening to your body? Do you understand why you're weak in certain areas, why you have autoimmune diseases, whatever it is? Do you understand your body, or are you just trying to get through the next day and just do things because someone tells you or you read something online and those kinds of things? Mm-hmm. So awakened wellness brings you to the next level in your healing. Why do I think I need this? Why is this going to work for me? So you have to ask yourself, because I was talking to a functional medicine doctor recently, and their big frustration is there's so many 50-somethings, and I've talked about it in here on the macrobiotic diet and everything else, that they're going in looking for hormone therapy because their hormones are all whacked.
Okay.
Well, you need body fat to run your hormones, especially if you're a female, but they're bringing their body fat so low that their hormonal system is completely whacked. But they think they're doing this in the name of health. Right? So awakened wellness would bring you, why are you really doing this? Do you understand the consequences to your body when you're doing it? Or are you thinking, I'm on the fad train now. I'm doing it because it looks good and I think that's healthy. Because you have muscle, you must be healthy, right? Mm-hmm. You don't realize that your body's consuming itself all the time, and that's going to lead to autoimmune. I mean, a true bodybuilder won't stay in competition mode more than he has to or she has to, because it's breaking down everything.
Correct. It's not a year-long pursuit.
No, these people are living in it for years.
Yep.
Because they have to be cut all the time. So awakened wellness brings you to the next level, so you can actually, because your mind thinks this is healthy. So you have to pick it apart now and ask yourself why you're doing it. You know, I had an instance where someone was on a health kick and I'm like, wow, you're really doing good. Yeah, I got to go for my blood work for my yearly physical. Because they don't want the bad numbers. So they're only thinking about numbers. They're not thinking about, well, what happens when the other 3 years before you went for your blood work? What were you doing and what consequences does that have that now you just don't want to get those bad numbers, so therefore everything must be okay? Awaken wellness, you're going to start practicing going, well, I can't just do it when I go for my blood work.
Yeah, I need to think about that as a
right. Why is the blood work really there? What is it helping me understand? Because like the autopilot guy, we're just doing things, but we're not really understanding
and
the
if
depth.
And if things are balanced and things are going well for you and you're healthy, why would you throw that roadblock in the way just because?
I think it's just the way we look at things. I don't think people are intentionally doing it. Mm-hmm. I think it's just because that's how we see life.
Okay.
You just got to get those good numbers. As long as you get those good numbers, you're okay.
Wow.
You know,
okay.
It was funny. I was at the gym the other day with my grandson, and he's 16 now, and we were working out together, and I have him teach me some upper body stuff and stuff. And we were doing a seated row, which is like this. And I had 70 pounds on it. And I had done, and he did 70 pounds. So I'm doing it, and I got to like the 8th rep, and I brought it down to 55. He looks at me, he goes, you can do that. why are you cheating yourself? And I looked at him and I said, I'm not cheating myself. He goes, Grammy, you can lift that. I said, but I don't want to bulk up my arms. I've been doing a lot of yoga and I'm still trying to heal my paralyzed muscle. I said, so for me to push it, I'm going to create inflammation. So yeah, I'll be stronger because I am strong already, but I don't want to go there. And he's just looking at it and he goes, fine. But it was an awakened moment for me to realize, you know, he's on that path now where he's 16. Everything's got to be bulkier and heavier and bulkier. And he's trying to play basketball and it's slowing him down because he needs to be leaner and faster. So, but he's reading all these magazines that want to make him. To be so strong. What is his goals and what is he looking to achieve? Because it's really hard because everybody's in there doing something because they don't completely know why. I'm not saying everybody. Some people know why. But there's a majority of them that don't.
Wow. That's big because when you think of it, oh, you need to be muscular, you need to be strong, you need to be big. But you, as you pointed out, but that's not necessarily correct for basketball. And it immediately made me think of when I was teaching ballet, that the bigger muscle is not
too dense. It's not flexible.
Right. It's not flexible. It's not.
If you want to
what
be
ballet's
agile, you're
about.
going to start snapping ligaments and stuff if you're not careful.
Correct.
So it's all about what are your goals versus what did you read and what do you think you're doing? Do you know your reasons for doing it? And that's the physical part. So you truly understand yourself and you can make better healthcare choices. And just once you know why you're doing something, then you can make a plan. But you can't be on autopilot all the time, just read something and go for it. You just can't. Because it's always going to add up. And we did that show. It all adds up.
It all adds up.
It's going to add up.
And when you're reading it from a magazine or getting it from a TV show, that's that person's perspective or where they're coming from. And it may not necessarily be yours. So we need to stand back and, like you said, make a plan. Ask yourself, what are your goals? What is the reason? What is it you're trying to attain? And does it hurt, per se, when you're doing it? What are you sacrificing or what are you re-injuring?
Right. Okay, so now the emotional piece.
Okay.
So when you're healing from emotion, when you're doing your whole body, mind, spirit, what role does your emotions play in it? So right now we're going through New Year's resolutions. If you're not focused completely on why your New Year's resolution means something to you, because right now I got to schedule my spin class time because everybody's in the gym, but nobody will be there in a month, and you don't really understand your goals and you're just doing it because it's a New Year's resolution, you're going to fail. And right now, if you look at the TV right now, there's an ad. I saw an ad for Pop-Tarts. I saw an ad for Payday bars. I saw an ad for Ozempic. I saw a bunch of gym ads. So they know they're going to lose business in the fast food industry, so they're doubling down. The diet industry is doubling down. The fitness industry is doubling down. So you're a victim because you don't have a set goal.
Gotcha.
And you don't have a set understanding of what you want. So now you're going, oh, I want this. Oh, I'm going to go here. Oh, this is too overwhelming. I can't do anything.
Right.
So the more you know yourself, that emotional piece is going to play less of a role in your decision making because the emotions are all over the place. You got to be solid in who you are and know what you want.
And if you're solid in who you are, then there's less chance for failure.
You're going to be more consistent in what you choose to do because you know yourself and you know what you need and you have a plan and you're not going to waver.
And it's not a failure to change and adjust what you're doing. And I think we're all afraid of if you don't do that exactly that way, that's a failure. And it's not. You're simply changing to accommodate your body and what you actually need.
I mean, I had somebody come in, they're fed up with their health habits, everything else. They want to do a New Year's resolution. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Within an hour, they had already broke it because they didn't have a plan. And they didn't know why they were doing it. They just were fed up. They felt like garbage. They knew they were trashing their body and they knew they needed to get better. But why do you feel like garbage? Why don't you want to feel like garbage? You need to ask yourself those things. Because just because you feel like garbage, the minute you feel well, you're going to go off. If you don't have a long-term plan.
Gotcha.
You're just going to do it.
Good point.
You're just going to do it.
Plan. And we don't often think that way, long-term plan. You're exactly, or you may have a long-term plan and you're feeling better, so, well, I don't need it anymore.
Right. Then you have to look at your emotional state on why you do the things you do. So if you're somebody that had a lot of traumas, you're going to be less likely to try new things. So you got to ask yourself, why am I less likely to try new things? And how do I push past that discomfort? If you're somebody who's been pampered most of your life, you're not going to do new things. It's too hard. You don't want to learn how to cook. You don't want a meal plan. You want to sit down and have someone else do it for you. So you got to override that in yourself. Nobody else can do that.
Correct.
Nobody else can do that. So you got to get to know yourself, your emotions, what makes you tick, so you can know how to make the changes that you need to make, because you have to protect yourself from yourself. That's what I call it.
I like that. Protect yourself from yourself. Absolutely.
Know where your weaknesses are. Some people hire somebody to do certain things for them because they know they're never going to get to them, and that's the big weakness, and they don't want to spend the time and energy. Then they spend energy doing on other things. Just learn about yourself. That's awakened wellness. Why is your wellness failing? Because you're not present, pretty much. Okay, and the last one is the spiritual part of you. First, you got to define what spirituality means to you, because it can mean religion, Buddhism, just being awakened. It could mean you're a vegan. It could mean you wear hemp clothes and drive a Subaru. What does spirituality mean to you? Because that is a hot word.
Yes, it is.
It's a hot word.
Source.
Yeah.
It's another hot word.
So you've got to decide, what does that mean to you in your awakened practice? And then from there, does it affect your physical and emotional choices? Right? Because spirituality can affect those. If you belong to certain religious places, you don't get to do yoga or meditation. So is that affecting your health or not? You got to ask yourself, right? So a lot of them won't do the energy medicine. Right. So you got to ask yourself, and especially your emotional choices, does it affect what you believe is possible?
It certainly could limit what you believe is possible.
It can, because I live in the infinite possibilities. Like I said, healing myself, I'm watching other people self-heal. When you start limiting your possibilities, but there's a fine line there, because people can go thinking something's possible, but it's really not. So the more you're aware, you'll know if you're on that path to create something for yourself, not just wish it and hope it happens and somehow you create it in your mind, but it didn't really happen, because there's a lot of that happens too. So there's a level of awareness you have, but does whatever you define spirituality have affect what you believe is possible? And does it impose limitations on your healing?
Yes, in many cases it can.
I've seen it just from, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, but some spirituality practices are male dominated. So the woman can't speak up to the husband because it goes against her practice, but yet it's giving her breast cancer. So you got to ask yourself all these questions in Awaken Wellness. What is affecting my health from my mind, my body, and my spirituality practice? And how can I balance that to make it work for me?
Yeah, it's immediately what came to mind when you were talking about that, how I've seen some of my friends who have buried themselves in a spirituality, a choice, whichever one it is of theirs. And it has seriously impacted their choices in life. And it's really kind of sad when you step back.
But it's not if they truly believe that that is their destiny and their path, but if they're looking to heal and they don't understand why, and they want to venture into finding out why they can't heal, they have to bring themselves to going to all these different areas, because it's not one thing that cures us of anything.
Correct.
It's not one thing that heals us of anything. It's not one thing that keeps us healthy.
Right.
So it's all three in balance that keep us healthy. So
Excuse me.
if you are from a spirituality practice that is limiting, is it taking away your internal power? And if it is, you might want to look in the mirror to see how much you resonate with that practice anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, because it should never take away your personal power. It should enhance your personal power.
Right. Right.
No matter what it is.
And all three of these, actually, you want them to enhance your personal power, not take away from them. It's not just that one either. It's all of them.
Right.
And it feels to me that, a lot of people throw around the phrase, we're empowered, I'm empowered. And again, what does that really mean? Does that mean you're stepping on the heads of others because you believe that's where you need to be?
Right. I just want to get this last one in because we're
Absolutely.
running out of time. Does your spirituality practice help you find peace when you're ready to pass?
Say that again?
Does it help you find peace when you're ready to pass?
Oh.
Because as long as you're afraid of dying, you can't live, and you can't be open, and you can't balance yourself, and you can't live a healthy, productive life if you're always fearing that. So does it help you find peace? And if it doesn't, you need to visit why. Because to fear death, you'll never live. Because we're all going to die.
Correct.
We're all going to die.
There's no one thing
and
that's
we're
going to
always
stop
more
it either.
after we die. But if you don't feel that and understand that and feel that safety net about yourself, I see people making choices every day on just something they eat because they're afraid they're going to die. And they're saying it's only going to make me sick, but the big connotation inside them is, yeah, it's going to kill them long term. So they're so afraid, and they can't make conscious choices that are objective for themselves because they're always afraid to die. But if you're not afraid to die and your spirituality practice supports that, you can live pretty comfortably and happy.
That's huge.
It's a
That's
big
huge.
part of awakened wellness and self-healing.
It's also a subject nobody ever wants to talk about, so it's taboo, but yet it's intricately woven into these
It's
things.
all of it. We're all of it. And we keep putting ourselves into little pockets, and we've separated it all. We've got to bring it all together if we're going to survive.
I like that.
We have to.
Yeah, in our last few seconds here, where can people reach you again so they can ask you questions and comment?
bodywithincommunity@gmail.com and marienotig.com, KNOETIG.
Awesome. All right. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Once a month, it's going to be Marie and myself, and we're going to bring these wonderful shows to you and help you go along on our journey as well. Thank you, Marie.
All right. Thank you.